Commissioner status update. It's August 20th, 2024. The time is 10 a.m. In attendance are Commissioners Brooks, Matari, and Duncan. Are there changes to the agenda? Okay, hearing none. The only thing I would say is I'd like to handle item 2 last so we can get Corey out of here. And public comment. Okay, hearing none. Justice Center update with David Mendez.
Good morning, David Mendez with Turner and Townsend Heery. So we've got some good news to report on the progress on the job site. So I'll start with I've put in front of you the updated sheet under design contingency. We've used 32% of the $882,000 contingency at this point. We're sitting right at 39% completion on the project. So 32% of that design contingency. We just added, and you signed last time, for the roof anchors, which was $37,000. The CCD 06 we did previously, I signed for that. That was a $12,000 add. But the good news, and take this with a grain of salt here, the ER, how are we doing that? The ERCES, the Emergency Responder Communication Enhancement System. We've asked Day Communications, who's the company that works this current building, we asked them to look at the design and see if they can give us update to see that we've got that covered. We have $120,000 set in the GMP. It's not part of these contingencies, but that's in the contractor's GMP. They've got a $120,000 allowance. We were concerned because we have the existing building that we had to replace that system, and I added that line, and we've been talking about that extra line in there because I thought with the new building plus the existing building, we were going to be over that allowance. And we've got numbers back, and this is a preliminary design. We got numbers back that look like we're covering that just fine. So we're at about $80,000 with the design and the system for both buildings. But that doesn't include the infrastructure, the conduits to get it in, and I don't have a design yet, so I can't get that number nailed down, but that leaves us with $40,000 to do that. It's plenty of budget. So that's design contingency. Construction contingency, we've used 25% of the $819,000. A new item down at the bottom, if you'll see handsaw cutting at CMU walls, that was a detail that was missed in the original design. That's the new item. We had a rough order of magnitude of 5,000, and it's come in at 2,800. So with my authority, I was going to, given by the commission, I was going to go ahead and sign that unless you have an objection. But it's been reviewed by the architect. I've reviewed it for cost, and it seems all legitimate. Progress on the building, by the end of July, we're at 39% complete. As you can see out there, the exterior steel stud framing is nearly complete. On the perimeter, the Dens glass, which is that yellow sheathing that you see, they've done on the north and south sides, or north and west sides, working to the south side. And they've started a coating application, which is significant because that makes us watertight. Nearly, except for the windows, obviously. But they're moving on doing that. So the critical item, so we talked about schedule. Almost every item on their schedule is working ahead of schedule right now. So their interior doing all the plumbing and interior wall framing and such. And those are all ahead right now. The only thing that's really tracking on schedule is that exterior envelope, and that's real critical. We have to have that completed by the time temperatures drop, so we'll be looking at that very closely. Interior, they poured the tower stairs on the north tower. They poured the bottom floor slab, so that's really coming together down there. If you go in there now, we have very distinct separations between floors, and you see all the HVAC systems, plumbing, and the interior walls all being framed out. So it's looking pretty good. So are there any questions that you've got so far?
Questions?
No, thank you.
Okay. Thanks. And so I guess it sounds like it's a fine handsaw. We're fine with the hand saw cutting?
They can't get a machine on it because you've got framing and plumbing fixtures in the way, so they have to do it by hand.
Yeah,
So it's
we're fine.
after the
Fine
fact.
with it.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, thank you. All right, we'll skip to item 3 for Kootenai Re-Roof. Corey?
So just to give you a quick update on the sheriff's office, we did punch list yesterday. It's getting close to being done. They've just got a few doors that are back ordered. They're supposed to come next week. And then there's evidence is going to start moving soon, and they're planning on moving the detectives in the first week of September into that space. So. On the re-roof, I'm gonna backtrack a little bit, just history on this. Tom had originally gotten a quote from Icon Roofing to do to re-roof the building. One price, they came with a price of $585,000 to just do an overlay, and $1.13 million to do a total tear off. They gave us a pretty detailed 7-8 page scope of what they were doing. I used that when I prepared the drawings. So one of the things that's come up, and this came up just last week, is there's several areas in the roof that don't have adequate crickets to get the water to flow to the drains. And so we have a change order to add some crickets. I just got this morning. This preliminary pricing is still not finalized.
Thank you.
Crickets like the bug?
Yeah, it's just like that.
Okay.
So it's some additional insulation to help get the water to flow. The original building, they're really flat. They don't really get the water. The foreman for Jimmy's Roofing had gone up there right after the last rain, and there's water ponding, and it really comes down to a warranty issue. So we need to add the crickets in some of these areas to get the water to positively flow, so we still get the warranty on the new roof that goes on there. What this doesn't include is there's that area where there's that roof leak in the corner. They're gonna have to tear that off and see if there's any damage. There's another spot where there are crickets, and they've got to tear off a piece of that roof. It may damage the crickets underneath because it's glued to it. So there may be an adjustment to this, but I should know that probably by tomorrow, because they're doing the tear off and doing some of the exploration today and tomorrow. So I should have a final number for you on this by hopefully the end of this week that we can get. And this is kind of a time sensitive thing, because to get the materials, it is in stock locally, but they want to get it on the job site so they can just go right on through and keep working.
So is Tuesday going to be too late?
No, Tuesday, I already talked to him. We met on the job site yesterday. This original price actually was higher on this, and I met with them and reviewed a couple of spots where I said, well, no, there's crickets in these areas that they took out of this, so we've got this reduced down, but there are still some unknowns up there that still need to be figured out.
Okay, so you'll have it on the business meeting for Tuesday.
Yeah, that's my intent, is to hopefully have something submitted by Thursday, so we can get it on the business meeting. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's all I had, unless you have any questions.
Well, questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right, back to item 2, future of transit discussion. Bruce?
Yes, thank you. I have a number of constituents that ask me about transit and why the county runs it. And sometimes people say that they would like to even see it eliminated. And I don't think that that's really an option. We started this program. We've built it up. It does serve many of the cities in the county. But the reality is that almost all of the benefit does go to the cities. and all of the liability goes to the county. And this is not a state-mandated service for the counties. In fact, if we were to look at the amount of property tax that was levied, for this particular department since 2020, when both my contemporary commissioners started, 2020 through 2024, we have levied just under $1.4 million in property taxes. And we should be focusing on the state-mandated services, because every dollar we levy for a non-state mandated service is at the expense of a state-mandated service. And I believe that we should always be giving priority, because 2/3 of our budget goes towards public service. This is a growing community, and we need to keep pace with that. Another big item with the transit system is the fact that a lot of people do not want it connected to Spokane. And I agree with that. I see no reason why we want our public transit system to be connected with Spokane. But the reality is that we are 2 commissioners away from that ever happening. The cities don't have any say in that. The commissioners are the ones that run this. If we wanted to connect it to Spokane, I'm sure we could figure out a way to do that. And this board will not remain in perpetuity. All of us at some point will step down or be replaced by somebody else. But the reality is that we're just one board away from changing the policy on our transit system. And so my proposal is for us to have a discussion about a joint powers agreement with the cities. And what this will do is it will allow us to share the liability, because the county accepts the federal grants and we accept the strings that go with it. The cities don't. They get the beneficiary of this. So this joint powers agreement would allow all of us to share the liability with, quite frankly, the beneficiaries of this program. The policies would come from this joint powers agreement, which would be driven by the constituents that are most affected by it. And the other thing is that the way this joint powers agreement is written, that in order for transit to connect to Spokane, the bar is actually raised much higher, because it requires a unanimous agreement from each of the different agencies, meaning that each member group, city councils, board of county commissioner, would have to vote to agree to connect with Spokane. So it actually increases, it raises the bar as far as that happening. And so I've already talked with a couple of cities. They're open to having the discussion about a joint powers agreement. And so I thought it was prudent to bring this before the board. I would like to have this as a topic of discussion, certainly with the next mayor's meetings, but also with other city managers, and start having a discussion about what it would look like if we were to have a joint powers agreement, and the receptivity from these cities.
Okay, Bill?
I think it's a good idea. I think we should, especially in that we're taking on the liability, we should share some of the responsibility with the cities. And they're certainly benefiting more than anybody else in the county outside the city limits.
So the property tax levied is against all the city inhabitants as well. So it's not just to county residents. So I'm fine with having the discussion. We can absolutely put it on the agenda for the mayor's meeting October 9th. I think that the devil's in the details. It is expanding government. It will make the program more costly because you'll have things like legal and HR and other resources that are being shared with the county right now. The other thing too is the way it's written, it's the board that would make that decision, not the entities. So I would want some clarifying language that each entity not only has to approve the Spokane, but they have to approve the budget as well, kind of like Kootenai Re-Regional Sewer Board does. And that's the other thing too is my experience with the sewer board is the joint powers is actually costing the entity money, and it can be done less expensive to the taxpayers and the ratepayers going through the city. So, but having the discussion's fine.
Well, as far as the way it's written, the members are defined as the individual agencies. They're not the individuals who are put on the board.
Well, but further in the document, it makes the distinction that the entities
Under
have.
definitions?
I don't remember which one. I've marked it all up.
Yeah,
So.
well, the intent is for us to develop something that makes sense, that is unanimous, one. Two, it increases the bar as far as connecting to Spokane. Right now, it's just 2 commissioners. That can change as this county continues to grow. We've seen that in other counties. The other thing is, as far as the tax revenue and so forth, we are spending money on it, and the cities are at this point are spending significantly less. If you look at the FY24 revenues that the county gets from the different cities, it adds up to just approximately $120,000. So if you look at the cities, their contribution compared to the county over the last several years, it's outsized way more as far as what the county is contributing and what the benefit, where the benefit goes to.
But again, I'm saying that, yes, some of our rural taxpayers are being subsidizing this program, but the city taxpayers are paying for this as well. And then I would ask, in that figure that you stated, the 1.4 million, did that include the grants operation, or is that just specific transit?
Well, that was the grants operation, but a lot of that money was allocated towards transit. The director position was largely transit. There were a couple of positions that were hired for ARPA, but they weren't funded 100% by the county. But this is the quintessential government program that continues to grow, like you mentioned. And in fact, right now, what we're dealing with is an org chart that that I've had a problem with, that others on this board have not had a problem with, that is the quintessential growing of government. So I don't understand why we shouldn't at least be thinking about, why is the county performing this non-state mandated service? Why are we levying taxes for it? And why is it that we get so little benefit out of it, and the cities are the greatest beneficiaries of it? And yes, I understand that the city taxpayers are county taxpayers, but there's also a reason why we're behind the 8 ball in our law enforcement, because these cities, when they incorporate, they come out from under our growth model, they develop their own growth model, and they stick the county with the 911 and patrol services. And so we have to pick up that burden, and it never pays for itself. And so the burden falls on the rest of the county to subsidize these cities. And this is in essence the same thing here. I would argue that if the cities want this, they should be contributing pro rata for the benefit that they're getting, and not the county kicking in more.
Well, we're going to have the discussion.
So with the board's approval, in essence, and I realize this is not an action item, I would like to at least start having more conversations with the other cities and explain this, show this, give them numbers if they'd like numbers, and have much more preparation before the next mayor's meeting, which I think we need to get on the schedule. I'm not sure I've seen it.
October 9th.
Okay, then there you go. So we'll be ready for that.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with the conversation at all. It's always good to have conversations with stakeholders before you try to bring anything forward, just so they're not put on the defensive and that they understand where we're coming from. So we'll just kind of see how it goes.
I think it's a good conversation to have. Mm-hmm. And if we exhaust it and it turns out that the cities don't want it, then that sends a message to us as well, which is that the cities don't want to participate, but they want the county to keep doing this function for them. And then that's a different discussion as well. Mm-hmm. So.
Yep. And the cities have always had the ability to take it away from the county.
Well, I don't think, I spoke with one city administrator, and there is a commissioner that, and this is all hearsay, so I can't confirm this, that the mayor was under the impression that the county had to run it because that's what they were told. So I think once it's explained very clearly that this is something that they can do at any time, and there was discussion about this in 2012, but it really has never come up, then they may have a little different perspective on it.
I think it was 2015 to 2018 as well. It came up again.
Yeah. Well, that was probably, I think, when Commissioner Everline was here.
Yep.
So.
All right. Nothing further? All right. Then public comment.
Good morning, Commissioners. Ron Hartman. Continue on with this transit thing. I live out in the county. My property tax is supporting this system, but you provide me no service. So I'm being taxed for a service I'm not receiving. I think our country was founded on this in Boston a long time ago. County property taxes should always be less than a city tax. Why? Because they provide less services. I don't have curbside garbage pickup. I don't have bus stops out where I live. I don't have full-time fire departments. And I don't have city parks. And that's fine because I should have to pay for stuff that I don't receive, which is what I'm doing right now. And I don't find it fair at all. I like Bruce's approach. Mine is really with Commissioner Brooks, kill it. But I don't know if that's going to happen. And I think Commissioner Matari has found what could be maybe middle ground, where you do this joint powers agreement. And I'm definitely in favor of having more than 2 commissioners make these buses run between Spokane and Coeur d'Alene. I don't think there's a Coeur d'Alene or a county voter that wants to see that. And the higher you could raise that bar, the better. Thank you.
Anyone else? Anybody online? All right. 10:22. Meeting adjourned.